Tom ran as fast as he could, trying to catch the train to Chicago, his coattails flying behind him, hat in hand, sprinting with the determination of his 18-year-old legs. He just barely made it, pulling himself aboard as the train gained speed and took him headlong into his destiny. His worn clothes attracted no attention, since so many others were in the same condition as he was, tired, anxious, hungry, and broke. He had spent his very last bit of money on the train fare, hoping he would be able to find work in Chicago, as he was willing to work hard. The train whistle moaned as they crossed the vast expanse of the new land, the gentle rocking of the car slowly sapping his will to stay awake. Occasionally, he awoke to the snores of the others around him and took a moment to stare out the dark window, trying to envision his future. Tom was the product of a troubled household. His father, a once respected police officer, struggled with alcoholism, and his mother worked multiple menial jobs to support them, often neglecting him in the process. Between her demanding work schedules and his father's bouts of drunken anger, Tom saw no future for himself there. He carefully saved his pennies, tried to keep his one pair of sturdy pants in good repair, and planned his escape. As the train moved into the night, he contemplated his actions, the sound of the rails echoing in his mind. "You were right. You were right. You were right." The rhythmic clickety-clack slowed, and finally the train stopped. Tom awoke to the sounds of growing excitement among the passengers. "Chicago! All for Chicago!" Tom stretched his legs and walked to the door of the train car, momentarily overwhelmed by the bustling crowds. He did not realize that Chicago was so busy. He stepped off the ramp, tripped, and landed at the feet of his future. He looked up into the eyes of the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He was captivated by her entire being, the aroma of her perfume assaulting his nose, the bright green of her eyes beckoning him. She reached down to help him up, steadying his 180-pound frame. "You should be more careful, young man." I'm sorry, ma'am." She took him by the shoulder and spun him around. The woman spoke to an unseen friend behind her. "Look what I found. Maybe he'll be just fine for the job, Harry." Before Harry could say anything, Tom turned to face the woman. "I can do any kind of job, ma'am. I'll work hard, really I will." His earnest tone prompted Harry to speak for the first time. "Listen, kid, we're looking for a special kind of young man. Can you sing? Dance?" Tom shook his head no, and the man continued, "Never mind. We'll teach you everything you need to know." Harry turned to the woman, and for the first time, Tom heard her name. "Maybe Lily. You know that I prefer tryouts, but since Alice got sick and had to quit, we'll give the kid a chance." Harry asked Tom if he had eaten anything on the trip out, but looking at the weary young man standing there, he could see that the answer was no. So he took Lily by the arm and Tom by the elbow and headed for a restaurant. Tom had never been in a place where there was enough food for everyone, served on clean plates and free from the infestations he had experienced back home. He did not know what to do. He decided to do whatever Harry and Lily did. The restaurant was crowded with travelers waiting for their own trains to come or go, and the smell of hearty meals filled the air, a stark contrast to the scarcity he had known. Lily made sure that he had plenty to eat, including an ice cream. Tom had seen ice cream before, of course, but he had never had one. The icy chocolate tasted bitter at first, but he grew to enjoy it and was disappointed when he had finally finished it. When they reached the door, Lily turned and spoke to Harry. "I'll take him with me, Harry. I'll see that he gets cleaned up and maybe even dressed. Come by later before the show, say around 8 tonight." Lily took Tom by the hand, and they walked out of the gigantic train station and into the bright sunshine. Lily hailed a cab, and when they were seated, had them taken to 118 Gordian Street. Her house was all pink and white, crowned in the Victorian manner of the times. Lily gathered up her voluminous skirts and stepped onto the curb, followed closely by Tom. She led him into a massive parlor decorated in soft blues and white Irish lace, with Tiffany lamps lighting the room. "Come upstairs, Tom. Let's get you cleaned up." She showed him the tub and ordered him in. "You'll find soap in the dish and towels on the rack. Wash everything, hair and all. I'll be back for you." She left him to wash, standing outside the door as he handed his clothes to her. When she heard the water running, she promptly tossed his clothes into the trash. When at last he stepped out of the bathroom, his body was refreshed from the warm water, wrapped in a large towel that went from his shoulders almost to the floor. He had had only 2 complete baths in his entire life, and this was the second. He was alone in the room, so he started to look around. The canopy bed was adorned with yellow and white linens, the walls in a soft ivory, and the furniture white with gold trim to accent the room. He had never seen such luxury. Without knocking, Lily walked in on him as he was looking around. "I was just looking around. Honest, ma'am." "It's okay. Stand there and let me take a good look at you." His skin glowed with a healthy sheen, his hair now a glossy reddish auburn that belied his Irish heritage, his green eyes open in awe of his surroundings, and his athletic frame almost overcome by the large towel he was using. "How would you like to work with me? Be my protege and housemate? My friend Alice came down with something and had to quit the show. I need a young woman to play a part, but I think you would do a fine job." "A role in the show? Me? What would I have to do?" "Well, I would have to help you, but I want you to play a part in my new production of Swan's Place. Alice, the actress who had the part, can't continue, so if you want to try it, I'll help you get ready and show you what to do." Lily looked at the young man, mentally picturing what he would look like as a young woman. "I'll try anything and do the best I can, but I've never done anything like this before." He felt nervous standing there in nothing but a towel, but she seemed very nice, so he began to tell her. "Well, as far as I know, I'm 18. My father is a cop in New York, and my mother, she has a lot of company, if you know what I mean. I went as far as a high school diploma before I had to quit. I got a job in a stable to help out at home. My dad drank a lot and beat me all the time, so I decided to leave. I guess that's all." Lily looked at this forlorn young man standing there, knowing that he took a very big chance in running away. She also knew that there was more than just an occasional beating involved here. "Well, Tom, I still don't know your full name. What is it?" "Thomas Evelyn Townsend, Miss Lily." "Let me tell you about me. I'm in theater, in vaudeville as a matter of fact. I own the Strand on Rapid Street and Harry manages it for me. My name is Lillian Marie Farley. Harry is Harry Granger. I own this house and I live here by myself. My stage partner of many years passed away recently, and I hired Alice to take her place, but now she is ill and I need someone to take her place. I want you to be that person, Tom. You just told me that you'll try anything and do your best, so I want you to try this. If it works out, you can make as much as $50 a week. If you really don't like it, then I'll give you the $50 and a new suit of clothes and you can be on your way." The amounts she mentioned were unheard of sums to him. He must have grinned or something, because the next thing he knew she was talking like he had agreed. "I will have to help you get dressed for a while until you learn how. Let's get started, shall we?" Tom was still distracted a little. His father would have to work many months to make $50, and here he was, being told he could make that in a single week. Lily opened some of the dresser drawers and began pulling out some clothes for him to wear. He looked to see what she had laid on the bed, and it was very definitely feminine clothing. Lily handed him a pair of bloomers and told him to put them on. "These used to be mine, Tom, but I think they'll fit you all right." When he had them on, he saw that they came to just above the knees and had red ribbon laced through them and tied in bows at the knees and waist. She had him slip a camisole over his head and then began lacing him into a corset. "This will give you a very definite shape and make your clothes fit better." Lily continued lacing and tightening until she was satisfied. He felt the constriction of the corset, but could see that it gave him a more feminine shape. She slipped some small padding into the corset to fill out his figure a little, and then continued to help him dress. A slip, followed by several petticoats, hosiery, and then the shoes. The shoes were black with a 2 inches heel. Lily left Tom standing there as she opened one of the closets and selected what he would wear that night. What Lily selected for him was a soft green dress with ivory lace trim, high-necked, long-sleeved, and a very full-skirted design. So full-skirted, in fact, that the bottom of the dress was almost 5 feet in diameter. "Come over here and sit down, Tom. I'll show you how to do the makeup." Lily proceeded to help him apply foundation, eyeshadow, blush, and eyeliner. Then she took a wig that appeared to Tom as nothing more than a mass of curls. Lily brushed her own longish hair back and used a clip to secure it before carefully placing the wig onto his head. At her urging, he stood up, and she helped him slip the dress over his head. Lily began buttoning the dress up the back. The dress hugged his newly acquired shape, and all evidence that he was male disappeared under the layers of lace and satin. Lily clipped some rhinestone earrings on his ears and helped him fasten the matching necklace and bracelet. "Just one more thing, and you'll be all set, Tom." She pinned a hat to the top of his head that had a trailing veil of sheer material. The hat was also green and ivory and sat on his head perfectly. "Now go look in the mirror." Lily led him to a floor-length mirror, and for the first time he saw himself. He was a picture of a well-bred debutante from the antebellum South. "You'll be the most beautiful young lady there tonight, Tom. But we can't call you Tom when you're dressed like this, can we? How about Sarah? Can I call you Sarah tonight?" "I'd like that, Miss Lily. But why am I dressed like a girl now?" "Because, silly, you'll be on stage with me tonight, playing the part of Andrea, my niece, and we're short on time already. You only have a few lines, and you have to stand where I tell you. You'll do fine. I'll show you everything you need to know. We have to be at the theater by 6:30, so let's go get a light snack, and then I want to make a few stops on the way to the theater." Tom was nervous, almost out of his wits, as they walked out into the fading sunlight of the afternoon, but he soon relaxed when he realized that nobody paid any attention to him. They stopped at Antonio's for a light meal, Lily introducing him as Sarah, my niece from New York. He carefully watched how she sat and used her hands and did his best to mimic her. The waiters and the owner treated Sarah like royalty, polite, almost fawning over her. It was a far cry from the snubs he received at restaurants even when he was applying for a job. When they left, Lily guided him into a dress shop. "Good afternoon, madam, and your charming niece, Sarah. Please come this way." The woman put the closed sign on the door and locked it. They walked to the back of the store, and the owner asked Sarah to disrobe and stand on a small pedestal. She had done an admirable job of hiding her maleness, but the woman paid no attention and just continued. Sarah was laced into a front-lacing corset that she could manage by herself. It pushed what little fat she had up and down, helping to give her the feminine figure she needed. Soft, flesh-colored forms were slipped into the cups of the corset, giving the illusion of cleavage. Her tights were replaced with silk stockings and fastened to the garters of the corset. The unfamiliar tautness of the straps made Sarah want to reach down and adjust them. By the time they finally got to trying on dresses, an hour and a half had passed. Sarah was fitted into several nice gowns, none that showed actual cleavage, only hinted at it. After all, she was only 18. It was lunchtime when they left the store, bundles of clothes piled into the carriage. Sarah and Lily took everything home and into what was now Sarah's room and put everything on the bed. "Let's have a few sandwiches and then you can put all of the new clothes away." Sarah went to the kitchen to help make lunch. Lily excused herself and Sarah went to her room. She slowly unwrapped all of the clothes, marveling at the softness of the material. The bloomers had all been replaced with panties, all white, 6 pairs. The corsets she had on were white, but she also had them in black and red. The camisoles and slips were all silk, white and ivory, 3 of each. She had 7 pairs of stockings, a complete set of garters for each corset in matching colors, and 2 bras, size 34A. The first gown she unwrapped was one she had picked out herself. It was all pink with white ruffles at the cuffs of the short sleeves and around the modestly cut neckline and on a diagonal from the waist to the hem. It wasn't quite as full as the others she had worn, but full nonetheless. The next one was definitely a party dress. It was a sparkling blue off-the-shoulder full-skirted ball gown with a sheer tulle top that only allowed a hint of her silhouette. It required that she wear the corset laced as tightly as she could get it to wear this dress, but she liked it and was willing to lace up tighter. The third dress was more for church. It was a dark green long-sleeve dress that also went to the floor. The trim was camel-colored and only adorned the edges of the cuffs and the matching jacket. Her only hat was for this dress, and it had a stiff tulle veil intertwined with a camel ribbon that went down her back. Putting everything away, she looked closer at the dresses in the closet and saw that they had all been worn before. Some of them looked like they would fit her, so she began to try them on. It was several hours later before Sarah had determined which of the clothes in the closet she could wear, and it was, to her surprise, most of them. The undergarments in the dresser were also used but clean, and she sorted through them, discarding the ones that she would not need and refolding and placing them back into the drawers. Lily walked in as Sarah was folding a pile of clothes lying on the bed. "I see you decided to look around. Good. I was wondering if I would have to give these old clothes of mine away to make room for your things or not." "Lily, I've decided that I should continue to be Sarah. The other night you used the name Farley when you introduced me. That's your last name. Do you want me to change my whole name?" "Not if you don't want to, honey. It's just, well, I always wanted to have a daughter, but of course that's impossible for me, so I thought that maybe you'd be the daughter I never had." Silence hung in the air as Sarah saw Lily turn her head and look out of the window. When Lily turned back, Sarah was smiling at her. "I ran away from a troubled home to find my future. I can read and write well, but I never expected to find someone who wanted to actually love me for who I am. I never wore girls' clothes before, but somehow I feel like I was supposed to. Know what I mean? What do we have to do to change my name?" Sarah Farley is a nice name, but what about a middle name? Lily told her she should just keep Evelyn, sort of a reminder of her past. "So my name will be Sarah Evelyn Farley. I was also wondering, can I call you Mother?" Lily's heart almost jumped out of her chest. This young woman had accepted her offer of love and home with barely a backward look. "I'll call my lawyer and let him take care of everything. We need to get you into school as well. You can work at the theater between terms and when you're on break. We'll work everything else out." Sarah ran to Lily and hugged her tight. The strange feeling of being wanted washed over Sarah. The two of them held on for a while, tears washing away the doubts they held. Finally, Lily asked Sarah if she was hungry, and the two of them went downstairs and made a small dinner. The next day, Sarah was enrolled in a school that catered to those young adults working in the theater. Life became structured as she got up early and went to school, studied in the afternoon, and performed in stage productions in the evening, finally getting to bed around 11 each day. Sarah's birthday was actually September 20th, but she and Lily changed it to June 10th to coincide with her arrival in Chicago and her new birth. But on September 20th, Lily threw a surprise party for her anyway, having invited several of the other young women her age from the school. Sarah was now 18, and the world was about to embark on the war to end all wars. Sarah and the other young women from the theaters around Chicago volunteered their time to visit local hospitals and perform small stage productions for the wounded. The actors continued their efforts until the end of the war, and it was at one of these hospitals that Sarah met the man who would change her life even more than Lily had. Sarah excelled in school and began writing scripts and short comedy acts. As some of the other actors began to notice her talent, they also used some of her material. The money she earned from these efforts almost tripled her income. She also gained enough confidence in her feminine presentation that she now, emotionally, felt she was a woman. Of course, in 1914, doctors hadn't yet discovered the miracle of hormones, so she was forced to seek out a specialist, someone she could trust as well as she did Lily. Curtis had worked for Goodyear before he enlisted in the Army, specializing in latex products in the experimental labs, but he was injured during the last offensive in France in 1918, having been shot in the lower leg. Sarah was there when the surgeons brought him into the ward. They could not save his leg, and the doctors were forced to amputate it. "Hi, soldier, my name is Sarah. Is there anything I can get you? A book?" His smile belied his injury, but he took one look at Sarah and lost all notion of his pain. By the age of 21, Sarah was every inch the woman. She had taken good care of herself. Continued grooming and self-care had almost completely removed any signs of her troubled past. Her diet had kept her weight at a trim 115 pounds, and the corsets she had worn every day for the last 4 years had given her a very svelte figure indeed. Her hair was now down to the middle of her back if it wasn't pinned up, and the natural chestnut color shone in the afternoon sun filtering through the windows. Curtis fell in love with her right on the spot. Sarah knew that soldiers were susceptible to, and often fell for, their nurses, and she had developed methods to maintain professional boundaries. But in this case, she also found herself strongly attracted to him. As the days passed, she visited him daily, staying well past the time limit she normally set. They talked about everything happening and what the future might bring. Finally, on the day he was to be released, he asked her to have lunch with him. Sarah agreed, and they went to Wellington Steakhouse. Curtis and Sarah had a quiet lunch, and then she told him she had to get to work. She agreed to let him call on her Sunday afternoon. She and Lily talked about her young man, and Sarah was reminded of her new status once again. As much as she might think of herself as a woman, she was not. A man in her life could potentially complicate everything she had worked for. But the heart does not always listen closely to the brain, and Sarah, like many young women, wanted companionship and had fallen for Curtis, falling hard. Sunday came, and right on time Curtis knocked on her door. After introductions, he and Sarah left for the park and a planned picnic. He had purchased a new Ford Model T, and she was excited to ride in one for the first time. Needless to say, Sarah was captivated by Curtis's charm. On the third time they went out, it was for a ride in the countryside. That is where he kissed her for the first time. The gentle caress of his lips against hers sent shivers of delight up her spine, and for all time, she lost her heart to him. Curtis went back to work at Goodyear, and Sarah began to secure more challenging roles, both within and outside of vaudeville. She received rave reviews for her work in Jim Landon's production of Macbeth, and she started to land bigger and better roles. She and Lily and Harry traveled to New York so she could appear in the 1919 stage production of Major Doolittle, where she was mentioned as a promising actress of the legitimate stage. Curtis, in the meantime, had begun to develop an artificial knee and ankle joint that would allow for better mobility for those needing joint or limb replacements. When his innovations were recognized by the medical community, he became an instant hero, and financial worries no longer plagued him. He rushed to New York to see Sarah with every intention of asking her to marry him. When he finally found her, he could hardly wait to propose. "Sarah, I want you to marry me. I make enough money now, and we can start with every advantage. In fact, I refuse to leave unless you agree to marry me." Sarah knew that what he wanted was not straightforward, and in a moment of emotional turmoil, ran to her room and slammed the door. Harry and Lily, hearing the commotion, came into the room. After Curtis explained that he had asked Sarah to marry him and her reaction, Lily went to Sarah's room while Harry stayed with Curtis. "Sarah, you have to tell him. If he loves you as much as he says he does, he'll understand and respect your truth. Harry is my Curtis. We fell in love a long time ago, and although it was challenging, we managed to overcome the obvious obstacles. It's your decision, but you either have to tell him and hope for the best, or let him go." Sarah was torn between confessing everything and fear of his rejection. She looked into Lily's eyes, seeing the understanding that only a mother and close loved ones can convey. "I suppose I should tell him. Will you and Harry be there?" "We'll be right there, Sarah." Hand in hand, the two of them walked back downstairs. Curtis was pacing the floor, wondering what he did wrong. When he saw Sarah and Lily walk into the room, he made a motion to go to Sarah and hold her tight, but Harry grabbed his elbow and held him back. "Sit down, Curtis. I have something to tell you that will probably change your mind about marrying me." Sarah sat next to Lily, holding her hand tightly, while Curtis sat in a high-backed chair across from them, and Harry began to pace the floor. "Curtis, you know how much I love you, but you should know that I can never have children." "We can adopt, Sarah. Please, Curtis, let me finish." Taking a deep breath and looking Curtis in the eye, Sarah revealed her secret. "Curtis, I'm male, just like you." Lily, Harry, and especially Sarah waited while Curtis digested the stunning news. "I can't believe it. You're kidding, right?" But the look in Sarah's eye told him she was not kidding. "I have to go, Curtis. I can't be who you want me to be." "Oh, Sarah," Curtis said softly, "you don't have to hide who you are. I love you for who you are." He took her gently in his arms and kissed her with renewed passion, desire bubbling to the surface. "I understand now, Sarah. Let's figure this out together." They embraced, finding solace and understanding in each other's arms. The next day, Sarah and Curtis sat on the porch. "Curtis, we have to be absolutely sure about this. Both of our lives as well as our careers are at stake here. I don't mind telling you that I'm scared and very concerned." She held his hand, and when he gently squeezed it, Sarah looked into his eyes, trying to find the answers they both sought. The soft sounds of his baritone voice tended to calm her, and as he looked away toward the fading sun, he spoke to her. "Sarah, I know what we face, but it comes down to this. I simply cannot bear to be without you. Let's worry about things as they come along and not anticipate them. I have to go. I'm working on a new project and I have to be there early. I'll stop by tomorrow night." Their goodnight kiss was full of the passion he felt for Sarah. She watched him go, excited about his acceptance of her true self and his unwavering love for her. "Sarah, Harry and I have decided to get married." Lily's announcement took Sarah by surprise, but she knew that it was what both Lily and Harry had wanted to do for some time. Curtis and Sarah planned their wedding for the following June. Lily and Harry got married in December. Curtis had begun to make stage props for the various shows and had also developed advanced prosthetics for more realistic performances. His continuing work in the uses of latex led him to create a complete body form for a female. Using mannequins, he perfected it, and finally, when he was ready, he asked Sarah to let him make a body mold so he could create one for her. She agreed, and they went to his laboratory. "This is a light grease, honey. You'll need it to protect your skin from the heat of the drying plaster." He smeared it on her and began to cover her with plaster. When it was dry, he carefully removed the mold, creating a lifelike latex suit that mirrored her feminine form. Curtis meticulously crafted the suit to fit Sarah perfectly, ensuring every detail was accurate. After hours of work, he presented the finished product to her. "Care to try it on, Sarah?" he asked, holding it up for her to see. Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. She slipped into the suit, marveling at how it transformed her appearance. The suit hugged her new shape, concealing any evidence of her past and presenting her as the woman she felt she was inside. "Sarah, you look incredible," Curtis said, his pride evident. "This will help you in your performances and make you feel more comfortable in your role." Sarah smiled, feeling more confident than ever. "Thank you, Curtis. You've done an amazing job." As their wedding day approached, Curtis and Sarah navigated the challenges of their unique relationship with grace and mutual respect. Their love story, filled with resilience and understanding, became an inspiration to many around them. Together, they built a life founded on authenticity, love, and unwavering support for one another. Sarah continued to thrive in her acting career, using her platform to advocate for acceptance and understanding. Curtis's innovations in prosthetics revolutionized the industry, earning him accolades and recognition. Their partnership extended beyond their personal lives, collaborating on various projects that blended art and technology. Years later, after a fulfilling career and a loving family, Sarah passed away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of courage and love. Curtis remained by her side until his final days, cherishing the life they had built together. Their story became a testament to the power of love, acceptance, and the courage to embrace one's true self. Their adopted daughter, Carol, grew up inspired by her parents' dedication and love. She pursued her own passions, following in their footsteps by becoming a renowned advocate for the arts and inclusive practices within the industry. The bond between the family remained strong, their shared history a source of strength and inspiration for generations to come.
Did you like the story? Hit that like button and tell me what you thought in the comments. Do you want to hear more stories? Subscribe and hit the bell. For exclusive content and early access, check out our Patreon. You can find the link in the description, or you can watch any of the videos shown on my right. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.